can you help us to understand how unique vaccines are and what happens to a product when it is granted legal indemnity?
Yeah, the impact of giving vaccines, if we're going to focus in on vaccines, the impact of giving vaccines immunity for liability for injuries, meaning the companies that sell them, those participate in injecting them, has an incredible and extraordinary effect. And I think it creates a market distortion that really puts vaccines in a unique box vis-a-vis any other product out there. Okay. When you think about products on the market, whether they're planes, cars, drugs, chainsaws, knives, anything out there, how do they become safer? Why are they put to market? Why does the company care that they're safe? Why does the company properly test them before they go to market? Why is the company watching safety aftermarket? Because at the end of the day, companies have an economic interest to make money. That is what their fiduciary duty is to their shareholders. When you see class action securities lawsuits and they're suing the board members and they're suing the CEO and they're suing the company, what's it about? It's about the fact that the company didn't take appropriate actions to protect their assets, to make appropriate profits. They breached fiduciary duties. That is what will drive corporations' conduct. So when you take away the fundamental manner in which we assure products safety, economic interests of a company, you get a very, very different result. And you can see that clearly, for example, with the contrast between how drugs are clinical trialed versus vaccines are clinical trialed. That drug manufacturers, they want to know before their drug goes to market whether that product's safe. Because if it does, and it hurts 1 million people, well, they're going to end up upside down very quickly on making money on that drug. But with vaccines, they don't have to worry about it in most parts of the world, actually, and the United States in particular, because they can't be sued for the most part for injuries caused by vaccines. And I'm not just talking about COVID vaccines. I'm talking about most vaccines, and I can explain to you how that happened, and I can even show you a chart that compares the trials between drugs and vaccines if you'd like.
Yes, I would like to see that. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Well, I'll start with where did the immunity to vaccines even come from? And a lot of people say to me, there are conspiracies around vaccines, and it's, I don't think there's some kind of really, you don't have to go into some crazy thought patterns about vaccines to get to a dark place. To understand the problem with vaccines, you just have to understand basic economics, in my opinion. Okay. So in the early 1980s in the United States and in most parts of the world, there were only 3 routine vaccines: DTP, MMR, and OPV. That's it. That's all there was. 7 total injections. That was the sum total of our childhood schedule and of the adult schedule and of the pregnancy schedule, since there were no adult routine vaccines and there were no pregnancy vaccines back then. And what was happening was every manufacturer of those 3 products either stopped making them or went out of business because of the injuries, because of the financial liability that was occurring from the injuries caused by those products. Now, for any other product, when it hurts people, what does the company have to do? Make a better, safer product. Your plane falls out of the sky, make a better plane. Your drug hurts people, make a better drug, right? But in this instance, Congress, in its wisdom, the United States Congress decided, instead of forcing them to do what every other company has to do, instead of letting the economic interest do what it does, make a better product. Instead, it said, you know what? You can keep selling your product that's harming kids. We're just going to give you immunity so nobody can sue you. And Congress passed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986 that basically gave these manufacturers immunity, but not just for those 3 vaccines. Gave them immunity to liability for almost any other vaccine they made thereafter, including all childhood vaccines. And with that, you see the explosion in the vaccine schedule. Now, some might say, well, maybe that's a good thing, but we don't want just more vaccine. We want safe vaccines. And I could show you the chart I referenced earlier. I think I could pull it up if you'd like.
Yes, I'm pretty excited to see this chart now, as a matter of fact. I've never been more excited to see it. This is like the chart that Trump was about to pull up before he got shot in the ear. I mean, like the trepidation is killing me.
Okay, well, don't want to kill you. So here we go. So, actually, this is I had the opportunity to testify before Congress actually on this exact topic. It was specifically about COVID vaccines, but in doing that, we submitted a report. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And here we go. Pharmaceutical companies, I think, do not like that this is on the formal U.S. Congress website, but there it is. And to this day, it remains uncontested. Never gotten anybody challenge or say anything in this document is false. With that said, you can. It's all cited to the government sources. Well, let's just zoom in on this one chart right here, okay? If you look at this chart, I'm going to
Yes.
zoom right in. These are the top 5 selling drugs that Pfizer has sold as of 2020, as of 2019, I believe, according to Money Inc. I'm assuming it's correct. And when you look at this list of the top 5 selling drugs, 4 of them are drugs. 1 of them is a vaccine. And what we're looking at is a summary of the clinical trial relied upon to license each of these products before they went to market. So when you look at Enbrel, it had a safety follow-up in its clinical trial before it went to market of 6.6 years against a placebo control group. Eliquis, Lipitor, Lyrica, multi-year placebo-controlled trials. Essentially, what that means is you're comparing a group that got this product when it was experimental before it was licensed with a group that gets a placebo over a multi-year period, and then you're comparing. Are there any neurological differences, immunological differences, cardiovascular issues? What is the difference in the safety profile between the placebo group and the vaccinated group? That's how you determine safety. And Pfizer wants to know that safety file before these products go to market because they don't want to end up upside down. But then look at the one vaccine on this list, Prevnar. 6 months of safety review, far, far less. A product given at 2, 4, and 6 months of age, by the way, and then at 12 months. Now, what was the control? It was a different vaccine, Prevnar 7. Now, you might say, hey, maybe Prevnar 7 was properly licensed in a long-term placebo-controlled trial, but that's not the case. It wasn't, and we'll go through that in a minute. But keep in mind, now I'll zoom out now, and we'll take a look now at the childhood vaccines. And these are the vaccines given in the first 6 months in the United States, 3 times each. And what you're looking at now is the safety follow-up period. That safety was reviewed after injection to these products in the clinical trial and the control that was used. Now, the first time I saw this, or if I saw this, I'd say no way. It cannot be. One, how could the companies do this before you're giving a product you're injecting into a baby? Again, each of the products is injected 3 times each in the U.S. schedule by 6 months of age. Okay, so you would imagine these would be the most robustly studied products on safety you could imagine. Healthy babies, millions of them. You want to make sure you're not going to break society, right? But yet this is what you see. And you might say, well, what is driving this difference? Why would Pfizer or these other companies do long-term versus short-term? And I think I've beaten the answer to that question to death. It's economic interest. Pfizer is going to do the absolute minimum, and Merck and Sanofi to get their products to market so they can make money from them. Now, why the FDA will let them get away with this, that's a different story. We could talk about that later if you'd like. But really, does it really matter? That's the reality of it.
The war against free speech is in full swing. We are the vanguard, bravely fighting back. Rumble's the home of this channel, Stay Free, and a leader in defending the fundamental human right of free speech. They've joined X to sue a cartel of advertisers and ad agencies who conspire to block ad revenue from going to the platforms. Recently, they've launched Rumble Premium. This, I think, is going to be a game changer for all of us. It's an ad-free viewing experience with great perks for viewers and creators. Rumble Premium will give you the ability to dive into your favorite content on your mobile or desktop or smart TV and savor every uninterrupted second of my content. Why don't you upgrade to Rumble Premium today? Support my free speech and the free speech of other content creators on this platform. Please go to Rumble now, rumble.com/premium. And if you use the code BRAND, you'll save $10 and Rumble will be aware that our stream is creating great converts. So that's rumble.com/premium and do use the code BRAND to save $10. Anyway, there's a link there at the bottom of the screen now. We're posting it in the chat. Join up.
On one side, there's Pfizer's top 5 selling drugs of all time. On the other side, vaccines in the first 6 months of their commercial life. And on the drug side of it, the follow-up side is 6.6 years, 7.4 years. In the one vaccine, it's a 6-month follow-up. So that starts to raise alarm bells. And on the side of the vaccines, there's a Hep B inoculation offered by Merck and IB. I don't know what many of these terms mean. I know that you, obviously, Aaron, know them inside out. IPV, and a drug called Hib by Merck, a DTaP, Prevnar 13 from Pfizer. In each of these cases, it's a matter of days or at most months for the safety follow-up. And I suppose what you're explaining to us, Aaron, is that once the companies were disincentivized through immunity to provide products that were safe, they recognized they had a whole new market that was free from punitive consequence. So they disproportionately created products in that area because they knew their margins would grow because they had immunity even in the event that these products were not successful, as well as near mandates for some of those products. Have I understood it correctly?
You did. You said it very well. I mean, imagine it like this, Russell. I came to you and I said, "Hey, Russell, I got a business idea for you." And you're like, "Oh, really? What?" I said, "Look, I got this great idea. We're going to sell this injection." What's the injection? Well, it doesn't matter. Don't worry. Well, don't have to worry about safety. No, the government said we can't be sued for it. Okay. You say, well, who's going to take that product? You say, don't worry. The government's going to mandate that millions of children take it every year. Well, but who's going to promote it? Don't worry. The government's going to take our money and promote it for you. So you get a guaranteed market, guaranteed immunity, government promotion. I think you just summed it up as well, which is absolutely pharma saw incredible opportunity. Their vaccine portfolio is very tight as an side back in the 80s. But once it's multiple portions of many of these pharma companies' revenue stream, and it's only growing because they understand they can sell this product risk-free with a guaranteed market, and they push for mandates. It's the best possible. They have the best. It's the best of all worlds for them.
So a sensible piece of legislation might be to end that immunity.
Yes, that would be extraordinarily sensible, which is just let these products operate in the same exact environment as every other product out there. Okay. Even in the United States, a lot of times, so we have immunity, guns have immunity liability for injuries. But even there, it's only in the commission of a crime or a wrongful act. You could still sue a gun manufacturer for design defect claims, saying that they could have been made safer and various other claims. You can never do those for a vaccine. So yes, that would be eminently sensible. And think about it like this, okay? Hepatitis B vaccine, the two given to babies were licensed in 1986 and 1989. It's now been, over 30 years of them telling us they're safe, assuring us they're safe, promising us they're safe. But you're telling me 30 years later, you still can't lift the immunity liability. You still are concerned about lawsuits. If they're so safe, what are you concerned about? There are drugs that treat just a small few number of people, right? So they don't have a large market. They can't make a lot of money off them, but yet those can survive in an economic environment where you can still sue the manufacturer of those drug products. Here, a product you give guaranteed millions of individuals every single year, you can't make a profit from unless you have immunity liability. You should be that should be very concerning. So yes, it would be very sensible, and you got to ask yourself why they won't do it, despite, by the way, bill after bill being proposed over the years to repeal that immunity.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.